Hiya, welcome to Parenting Team Podcasts. Today we've got an episode on child trust funds. If you live in the UK, this one's really relevant because if you had a child that was born between the 1st of September 2002 and the 2nd of January 2011, then the government will have contributed to an initial deposit of £250 for a child trust fund. Once your child turns 18, the account matures and then they can actually have this money. And the reason for this podcast today is I've been made aware by Simon, very nicely, that there are currently 430,000 18 to 21-year-olds with an unclaimed child trust fund, and they can be worth up to an average of £2,000. And this money's just going unclaimed. And I don't know about you, but today, right now, any penny I can get my hands on is well worth seeing if you can get it. So if you've got a child who's born between the 1st of September 2022 and the 2nd of January 2011, you need to be aware of this trust fund. I've got Simon on here today to answer a few questions that we've thought of that might be helpful, and also to help you work out if this is some money that you can get your hands on, to be honest. Some cash for your teen that could really help when they turn 18. So hopefully this is helpful and hopefully you enjoy it. Thanks very much. Thank you so much for coming on, Simon. At the moment, this just feels so prevalent for people for the opportunity to get free money, let's be honest. But I guess it raises the question of why are you having to remind people about these child trust funds now?
Well, the thing is, Rachel, it's hard to believe, and you'll know this, and anyone listening to your podcast will know that those little children, as they were back in 2002, are now
Yeah.
up here, up high, and they're now teenagers with full-on personalities and everything that comes with being a teenager. And they might be starting out in the first jobs or apprenticeships, and that's a scary big world for them, and for you as well as a parent, worrying about them. But it's also a time when they probably need a bit of extra cash starting uni or moving into their first home. And their child trust fund was set up for this reason, a pot of money with their name on. And we're committed at HMRC to reuniting all young adults with their child trust funds. Of course, you get letters to the banks as well, but you might have forgotten it. You might have put it in that drawer in the kitchen to think, oh, I'll deal with that later. Then you cut your chips and your tea and you forget about it. So we just recognize the importance of, ensuring that these young people can now benefit from these savings accounts as they reach adulthood. And we want them to get online, use our online tool, track it down. Parents, speak to your teenagers, make sure they're aware of their child trust fund, because it could make a real difference to their future plans, of course.
So that all sounds really helpful. And the idea of free money for parents is also going to be really helpful as well. Like you say, there's endless costs when your kids are moving out, when they're driving, all that stuff. So sounds like a cracking idea to be able to find out if you've got it. At what age is it that our kids can find out that they can take control of this child trust fund?
So young people aged 16 or over, Rachel, can take control of their own child trust fund, although the funds can only be withdrawn once they turn 18, which I think as a parent, you might think, okay, sensible age.
Yeah.
And parents of teenagers too, have a chat with your teens. Just make sure they know that it's there and how to find it. That online tool is at gov.uk. It's free. You just search child trust fund. Be aware online when you're seeing other sites pop up that say they can get this money for you. Always go to gov.uk. It might be boring, but it's free. Just search child trust fund and you can find where it is.
Brilliant. So I guess my next question is, how, realistically, how much money are we talking about here?
Well, the over 400,000 18 to 21-year-olds that we're trying to reach, we know that they have this unclaimed child trust fund that we're talking about. They're worth, on average, Rachel, £2,000, which I know that you and I wouldn't mind. And families can continue to pay in up to £9,000 a year tax-free until that account matures, and the money does stay in the account until the child withdraws it or reinvests it, moves it into another account. But worth on average £2,000. So this is going to be a real boost for them if they're looking to get the car or pay some rent at uni, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, crikey. That's way more than I was expecting. What a result. God, wish I'd had one now.
I know. Unfortunately, I think you and I missed out by just a
Just
couple of years, just a couple of years.
fraction. Literally a fraction. Definitely. That is so true. So I guess how in that case, there was obviously years where this came into practice. So how many accounts have actually matured at the moment then?
So we know that almost 1 million accounts have matured between September 2020 and April 2022. More than 500,000 accounts have been claimed, but we know there's around 430,000 accounts that matured and have remained unclaimed as of April 2022, those latest figures that I've seen. And since they've matured in 2020, we've worked closely with providers and stakeholders to encourage young people to find their accounts. But of course, we've all got busy lives, Rachel. It falls under
Yeah.
that life admin bit where you stick a letter somewhere and you never get around to it. So it's just a nudge to say, if you need that money, that pot of money could be sat there with your name on.
Well, yeah, all of a sudden it adds a little bit of weight to the letter that's stuck in the drawer when you put a
Yeah.
2 grand
Yeah,
like
that's it.
label on it.
That's it on average. Yeah. And the reason these are set up with to encourage saving as well. So if you suddenly present
Yeah.
your teen with this pot of money and say, look, this has grown since we set it up when you were born, it might encourage them to open another account, might it? And then, if you pop a tenner in a month, whatever you
Yeah.
can afford, then it encourages that habit for saving. And we all know that come that
Yeah.
rainy day when the car breaks down and it needs a new clutch or whatever, you've got that
Yeah.
little pot of cash, haven't you? Or if the
Mm.
car still works, you can book that holiday, can't you, to
Oh, yeah.
Benidorm, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. So I guess we're talking, like you say, teenagers here. Them being aware of it is obviously the first thing. So who should be looking for this, and how do they go about it? What do they do, basically? I guess how do we find this stuff out properly, and who has to do that?
Yeah. So the first thing you need to do, first thing that's worth doing is go to gov.uk, search Child Trust Fund, and there's an online tool there where if you're the teenager or if you're a parent, you can find out where your Child Trust Fund is held. So it'll be with like a bank or a building society. Um,
Okay.
if you've turned 16, we send you a national insurance number and it will have had that Child Trust Fund letter in there of how to find it. But like we've said, you might have stored that, popped it away somewhere. So go
Yeah.
online, gov.uk, find where it is, get in contact with that bank, and it's that simple. They will have your details on record. You'll just need to prove it's you with some sort of ID, and then that's it. They'll sort your access to it, and don't worry if you don't manage to do it. If it's an unclaimed account and you think, oh, but I turned 18, I don't know, a few years back. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't disappear. That account remains your money until you claim it or transfer it. No one else can touch it. And it keeps its tax-free status until the account holder, that's the teen, the young person, comes
Yeah.
forward and tells the account manager what they want to do with the money in your account. So it's sat there. And my job today is just to come on this pod and just give you a nudge and say that you probably set it up with good intentions back in 2002 and now you've completely forgotten about it. So
Yeah.
gov.uk, find a child trust fund, and get searching for it. Yeah.
Wow. And it literally is just a case of going in some ID once you find out where it is, and that's it. You can have access to it
Could be a
once
very
you pass
a
this.
very worthwhile 15 minutes, couldn't it? Checking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the
I'll
two
take that
grand.
return. Yeah, 15 minutes, 2 grand. If only I could just duplicate that in the wages, that would be amazing. So you're saying there as well that there's no deadline on this. The money will just sit.
That's it. It will just sit there. It's in your name. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't have an expiry day. It's your money until you claim it or transfer it. We actually did, you like this, Rachel, we did a bit of
Yeah.
research, a recent study, and it was done by UCAS, a student
Yeah.
survey, and they asked first and second year uni students about child trust funds. And the results showed us that they were most interested. Can you guess what they were most interested to know
Oh
about the
God,
child
how
trust
much?
funds? Yeah, how
How?
much money was in there?
Yeah.
That was 43% of them wanted to know how much was in there. And secondly, how to get hold of it. So
Yeah.
32% wanted to know how to claim it. It also showed us that 60% of students got their information about child trust funds from their parents. So there's a good chunk there that didn't know that this has been set up, and that's no fault of the parents who probably forgot.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm coming on the radio to say, look, you might have forgotten about it. It's cash. It's sat there. I bet you could use it right now.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And just to recap, what are those golden years that you need to be born between to be able to have this?
Yeah, so they were set up, they were long-term tax-free savings accounts, which were set up for every child born between the 1st of September 2002 and the 2nd of January 2011. And I should mention that the government actually popped in an initial deposit of at least £250. So there will
Nice.
be at least that money in there, and it matures once you turn 18, which we're obviously finding
Yeah.
now these little babies are now full grown
Yeah.
adults. Yeah.
Yeah, getting free cash. What a brilliant time to be born.
I know.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, hopefully that clears it up for everybody, that that money is just going to sit there. And I'm pleased that, like you say, there's no deadline. It is just there waiting for people to go and claim it. And, you know, with the potential of up to 2 grand, that could be a real lifesaver for people at the moment. So I really appreciate you coming on to kind of show it's not that difficult. There are ways to find it which don't involve 4 to 4 million letters to get to the
Yeah.
bottom of it, which is never fun. And yeah, that you guys obviously do write out when the teen turns 16. So there should be some paperwork somewhere if it's not
Yeah.
been filed too safely. 430,000 is a lot of unclaimed accounts. And obviously, that's just going to keep growing as more and more of these young people turn 18 because they're not all there yet, are they? So
No, that's it.
it's, yeah,
Yeah, there's a good run
definitely
of
worth it.
people still to turn 18, and then we'll remind them
Yeah.
again in a few more years. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have you back. We'll do this again for definite.
Yeah.
And thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you, Rachel, and thanks for having me on. It's really appreciated. I always enjoy chatting to you. It's really, really lovely being on.
So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much if you've listened this far. I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. Don't forget to never miss another episode. Please click the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening on. As always, if you have any feedback or ideas, please do get in touch. I always love to hear from anyone who's been listening to these. You can find me at teentherapistonline.com for my website, or Facebook and Instagram. I'm Teen Therapist Rachel Martin. I will always reply, so please, if you have anything you want to let me know about or ask about, please do just get in touch. And if you're feeling really, really lovely and you're listening on Spotify, you could leave me a review, which would really mean the world to me. Once again, I'd just like to say thanks, and I hope you have a super lovely day.